Boy, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you.
Japan, Germany, Italy, Soviet Union. The rise and the permeation of aggressive governments made the late 1930s and 1940s a dangerous time. With a growing need for many men in the military in a short amount of time, Roosevelt signed the Burke-Wadsworth Act into effect. This was not the first nor the last time the U.S. would institute conscription, but it was quite notable in its effects of having established a 34 million registered for service, with 10 million serving in the Army. Compared to previous wars, such as the First World War, conscription was much more calculated and preemptive.
Military conscription was instituted on September 16, 1940, with the signing of the Selective Training and Service Act. To qualify, a man was subjected to many tests to prove he was combat ready. It required all men between the ages of 21 and 45 to register for a possible upcoming draft, although in 1942 the minimum age was lowered to 18 to accommodate growing military needs and a war fought in the Atlantic and the Pacific. Drafted men would be stationed around the Western Hemisphere and would serve for a required time of 12 months.
Objection! I don't want to go to war.
The draft applied to all young men, but some chose to register as conscientious objectors. This meant that they could serve the United States military in non-combatant roles, such as working in labor camps or non-weapon carrying jobs on the front lines. There were over 70,000 men who registered for conscientious objector status, although it was only granted to approximately 52,000 of them. Some 6,000 of this group were imprisoned, while 16,000 men were imprisoned overall for draft dodging. Particularly targeted were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, honey, I love you.
Don't leave me! No, estoy bien constrictado.
Conscription also caused a great separation of drafted men from their families. As a result, worrying divorce rates went up as couples were continents apart from each other. With the censorship of letters, there was even less communication between soldiers and those at home. Economically, the incomes of military men were sometimes lower than those of their American jobs, causing sharp changes in some families' standard of living. But this consequently increased the labor force and eventually revolutionized it by allowing women entry into the workplace, not unlike the previous World War. Sometimes it can even be argued that the Great Depression was solved by American involvement in the World War.